After a couple of days with my 52 weeks of cult cinema series. And tonight I'm talking about the 2002 film Dark Blue. Now, I've just been thinking, right? There are cult films that are by design, and then there are cult films that kind of become cult films, um, sort of because they flopped, and then they build up a following afterwards. I was watching a German film called Wetlands a couple nights ago, and I was thinking I could talk about it, but then I'm like, this has elements that are just trying so hard to like capture that moment of cool and stuff, but then they're kind of mixed in with just kind of mundane, average, dramatic scenes, and I'm like, nah, this is just trying too hard, but then it just fails, so it doesn't really count. And then, on the other hand, you have a film like Kingpin by the Farrelly brothers, which was just trying to follow up from Dumb and Dumber, um, and kind of missed the mark a bit, and now those who know that it's that it's a damn classic film, and maybe I'll talk about that a bit later. But tonight, now Dark Blue, I'd never heard of it. I got it on DVD a good couple of years ago. I think at a secondhand store. Um, it was released in cinemas by United Artists and distributed by MGM on DVD. But it was actually a German film production, GmbH, by I believe a company called IM. Maybe not. Maybe it could be IM Global now. I don't know. Um, but it just seems so strange because it's directed by, at the time, generally would be considered an A-list director, Ron Shelton. He made Bull Durham. He made White Men Can't Jump. He made Tin Cup. He basically made a career out of making kind of light-hearted-ish uh, sports films. And this was a kind of hard-nosed, dark, um, crime film, cop film about corrupt cops, um, that had an amazing cast. Um, and then basically the year later, he tried to make, he made a film called Hollywood Homicide, I believe, with not Josh Brolin. Oh, God, what's his name? That young guy. Can't think of his name now. God, goodness gracious me. And I believe Harrison Ford. And is almost like a one for me, one for them type of deal. Not Josh Duhamel. Josh. Can't think of his name. Um, and that was trying to be kind of a big budget, um, cop comedy, how you say, action crime comedy type of thing. And I remember that releasing, but I watched it because, again, like at the time, I was a Ron Shelton fan. And I think his film Cobb from 1994 about the baseball player Tiger Cobb, played by Tommy Lee. Is it Tommy Lee Curtis? No, what's his name? Oh goodness, you know, Tommy Lee. Is it Tommy Lee Curtis? I'm having a brain fart tonight. Um, Not Tommy Lee Curtis. Channing and Jamie Lee Curtis. That amazing actor, the good guy from from No Country for Old Men and all the classic actor. Basically, the film Cobb was great. Um, Bull Durham's great. I don't know about Tin Cup, but White Men Can't Jump and all these things. And anyway, as I say, like I came across this film Dark Blue, um, almost, it's just bizarre. It stars um Kurt Russell, um, Ving Rhames, Brendan Gleeson, Scott Speedman, who was who had his moment. Didn't don't know what Scott Speedman's doing anymore. Um, Jonathan Banks before breaking the great Dash Mihawk. Um, and the female lead is Michael Michelle, who looks so familiar, but I don't know what else she's been in. And supported by the lovely, lovely, lovely Lolita Davidovich, who was in other Ron Sheldon films. I don't know whatever happened to Lolita Davidovich, but she really was one of those 90s. I don't know if she was a starlet or a character actor, but I really enjoy all her performances. And yeah, the story was written by James Elroy, who wrote LA Confidential, and other, like I've read a bunch of his books, which are all really great. Um, one of his stories was turned into a James Wood film called Cop, which wasn't great, but no, James Elroy's a cult crime writer. Um, and then the script was written by David Ayer, who had already written um, Training Day. So basically, all the credentials are there for like a classic film, and the premise is just amazing. It's it could just be any type of film, any type of crime film, but it's set during the LA riots in 1992, which just gives it that something. Um, Really, like, the period is really well encapsulated in this film. The music, the style, the mobile phones, all that kind of stuff. It really just, for me, encapsulates the time as someone who was 9, who kind of remembers living through it, from a distance, of course, in Aussie. But yeah, there really isn't much bad about this film, apart from maybe the soundtrack, which is a bit hokey. Um, and yeah, when I first saw this, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, it really, like, I was in a bit of a strange state. But as I say, like, seeing a film that's just like a list quality film with an amazing cast, and yet it just sunk to the bottom of the ocean, just is almost surreal, I guess. And that's why I would call it, in my books personally, like, I love this film. It really is a great thing, but I don't know what it is about it that just didn't take off, It's I mean, it's got a 6.6 on IMDb, but you can't watch it on YouTube. I think you've got to buy it on Amazon Prime and maybe Google Play. So it is around if you want to watch it, but it's not on any streaming services and whatnot. I think it is maybe on Tubi and Pluto. Not that we have any of those in Australia, but I've got my DVD copy. And well, as I say, there isn't anything that It's it's a very um competently made film, and that's what I say. The style is just I guess vaguely cinema verite, quite realistic. Although the soundtrack, as I say, is quite can be quite heavy-handed at times. Like you definitely know what you're meant to feel and stuff. To some extent, it pumps up the tension and all these kinds of things. Um, and all in all, it's one of those films that like really takes you on a journey through what's happening for the characters and all these kinds of things. And I guess I'll just try and explain a little bit about it. So the main character is Eldon. Oh God, my brain tonight. Played by Kurt Russell and his partner Bobby Keogh. Um, who are being investigated into shooting, um, whether it's whether it's deemed uh, legal or appropriate or whatever. So they kind of go through that, and you find out after that first scene that they're kind of in like the boys' club of the police that's being run by this Van Demeter police chief type of guy, and you learn early on that Kurt Russell's character is being promoted to sergeant. So he's got to go to the police academy in like a week or 5 days. Intercut between that at the beginning is a is like a violent crime that occurs where two kind of jag off drug addicts um, steal a safe from a corner store run by Koreans, and they end up killing a whole bunch of people. Um, and so basically, yeah, I believe it's Eldon Perry. So Eldon Perry and Keo are well, it turns after that scene, it turns out that this whole thing has been set up by Van Demeter, who is basically knows the dirt on everybody, and is taking the money from this Korean dude who runs a corner store, and then turns out has his finger in all sorts of criminal pies. So um the two detectives are put on the case to solve what happened, as they call it, the Jack of Hearts shootings, something like that. Um, and basically, as they go along, they find out about the criminal angle. They ultimately find out that the criminals who did it are black and white. So straight away, they think of these two jagoffs who are police informants of Demeter's, and because Eldon Perry, Kurt Russell's character, is in his pocket, when he says, "Don't go after them, just solve it," they're kind of forced to set up two other guys, um, and they do. And again, there's an investigation, and there's a whole thing that early on when Bobby Keogh was meant to kind of have a rites of passage to shoot the bad guy. He dropped his gun, and Eldon Perry, Kurt Russell's character, did it for him. So this time it's a switcheroo, which causes Keogh to like lose his mind, and he's also having a relationship with a police sergeant, officer, doesn't know um, what it is, who's helping the Ving Rhames character kind of get to the bottom of all this police corruption. I'm not doing very well tonight, um, but basically, Van Demeter sees that things are going pear shaped, and he tries to get Perry executed by the bad guys. It doesn't go well, and during this whole time, it's during the fuck the LA riots, the trials, the not OJ Simpson. Fuck. Um, God, I'm not on point tonight. That's for sure. So basically, yeah, the climax of the film is kind of after his partner's been shot, chasing after the bad guys through the streets of South Central LA as just shit just goes absolutely postal. And ultimately, he turns up at the police academy and rats himself out after a guilty conscience, after almost ending his marriage. He finally gains a conscience, um, and Demeter just kind of tries to gaslight him, says that he's drunk, and then he's like, "Handcuff me, and I'll tell you the truth." And the film ends with him looking over Los Angeles as it burns. Um, so yeah, that's about all I can think of to say about it right now. It's late. I haven't slept enough. My brain isn't very good in these circumstances. But well, it I guess it was during that period when films about police corruption were coming through, but yet there's just something about this film that just didn't hit its mark with its audience, I guess. And as I say, after this, Ron Shelton made Hollywood Homicide, and that was basically it. For him, didn't make any more sports films, maybe one, I don't know. And yeah, his attempt to move in a different direction just kind of capsized his career, it seems. But Kurt Russell puts in, a consistently good performance as ever, as the kind of wise talking anti-hero who finally gains a conscience in the end. And Jonathan Banks has a small role, but he kind of seems to be channeling like John Wayne or something. Um, and well, as I say, it's a pretty straightforward film, well made, great cast, um, very dark story, quite violent, like not graphically, but really, but there's a dude in a fridge, and fairly consistently. Not really action packed, but it has its moments. And all I can say is that this is a film that I can come back to every couple of years. And when you watch a film and it kind of stays with you and you know the beats, but you kind of forget everything else that's going on. And that's kind of what happened with me with this film. So I know the beats, but then, yeah, it all kind of came back together again for me. So I'll just leave it short. I'm not on point. I just wanted to do some content um to keep my algorithm absolutely down the tubes. There's a few people viewing, but they're just going, "What the fuck are you doing, bro? You're just not on point tonight. You're fucking off tap, eh?" So Dark Blue, I definitely rate it. Is it a cult film? I think it ought to be. I think it deserves a bit of a following. Um, if only just for having such an amazing cast and a story by James Elroy about about the redemption of like a lost soul, functioning alcoholic, uh, total sleazoid, um, bad dad, corrupt cop. Um, but then things come together, and he finally goes, well, and basically the world crumbling around him during the LA riots. Um, I think it's pretty much the only film I can think of about the LA riots. I don't know if you could say it's a historical film. Kind of like it's definitely a period film, and it definitely like maybe it was those scenes during the LA riots that that didn't go down well. I don't know what it is, because I really like. I think it's just it's just really well done. And if you give this film a chance, maybe you'll go, yeah, man, I could watch this every couple of years and wear a dark blue t-shirt and be all cool with, Kurt Russell kind of looking very dramatic on the cover, doing his thing. So, yeah, Dark Blue. Ron Shelton film 2002, 118 minutes. Definitely worth looking into, and you know, I'll watch it again in another 2 or 3 years, I'd say. So thank you. This is my series on cult cinema. Um, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I'm still kind of hyped, so I might watch another film and do another video, but it probably won't end well, just like this one. But nobody watches. This is all just for the archives for people watching in 2468. Um, Hello, people in 2468. How's the world now? How's the internet going? How's AI? Hi, AI. Are you watching this? Um, I kind of someday my content will enter the AI meta brain and you know will influence will influence some language model that'll be all like, yeah, the guest, blah blah blah. Maybe I'll watch the guest, and then I can talk. That's a good film I can talk about. So, any hoodles, I will catch you when I catch you. So remember, if you get angry, you're doing it wrong. Thank you kindly. Peace to the lovers.